Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Matt James throws some shade at Claire Crawley and reveals what BFF Tyler thinks of his girlfriend Rachel.
It doesn't matter where she's getting it at this point. Hopefully someone will bring it.
Plus, Jojo, Fletcher, and Jordan Rogers officially tie the knot. And Jessenia Cruz shares her side of the Bachelor in Paradise drama with Chris and Alana.
And I want to preface that, I'm coming at this, as lightly as I can, because I've personally moved on from the whole situation, but I think it's been very difficult to look away when you have two people who are constantly kind of like continuing this narrative that just isn't true.
We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly senior editor Sarah Heron, and welcome to another big week of Bachelor news. Sarah, Jordan and Jojo finally tied the knot.
I'm so happy for them. They are just so cute. I'm so excited to talk about that. And a few other little random shady moments, a couple little nuggets to get into. But before we do that, let's talk about last week's show and what you guys had to say. I love this comment from Teresa, who said, "Not hard to fall in love immediately with a billionaire's son. Madison is no dummy."
I totally agree, Teresa. Of course, Madison Pruitt, who revealed her new relationship last week with this epic Instagram post. But yes, she's dating a billionaire's son. No dummy.
Snaps.
Definitely. And then Kathy says, there's got to be more behind the scenes stuff for Chris to lose his long-term hosting job, and both Rachel and Matt wanting nothing more to do with him. It's not what is said, it's what's not said that speaks volumes.
Interesting.
I mean, if you go back and watch that interview with Rachel Lindsay, it is very cringeworthy. But I guess, Matt and Rachel just kind of want to distance themselves from it, don't want to really be associated with it anymore. But yeah, no, I mean, love to know what happened behind the scenes during all that.
Yeah, I think one of these days, if this story isn't over, and as many people can say they don't want it to be over, Matt, told us it's like beating a dead horse. Mm-hmm. There's something we don't know, or there's just more. I don't know. I think there'll be more at some point, but we'll talk about Matt a little bit later.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, let's get into our news this week and kick it off with Jojo and Jordan, because like we said, they are officially a married couple. They exchanged vows at Sunstone Winery in Santa Ynez, California on May 14th. Bachelor Season 20 alum Becca Tilley served as a bridesmaid, and Bachelor Nation pals Raven and Adam were among the attendees. Now, they haven't shared a lot of pictures on social media, which I'm kind of upset about. But after they said I do, the couple celebrated over a meal at In-N-Out. And Jordan wrote on Instagram, "First meal as a married couple was the same as our first real meal together off camera while filming The Bachelorette. You never actually eat at sit-down dinners, so we crushed some In-N-Out at the hotel after hometowns." He later shared a photo on the plane of his wife. They are off to Greece to celebrate their honeymoon. And I mean, based on some of the pictures that we have seen, it looked like a beautiful wedding.
It did look like a beautiful wedding. Jojo had a few dresses, which we knew. I mean, they just I know you've interviewed them. I've interviewed them. They are just like a good time to be around. They seem just like light and fun. And it's, I'm sure the wedding was awesome. It's so random to me that Adam and Raven were there. I just double checked. Adam was on Rachel Lindsay's season.
Right. And Raven was on
Nick Vile's season.
Right. So
and Jojo was never in Paradise. So I don't really know that connection.
Yeah. Are you surprised that more Bachelor Nation people weren't there?
Yeah, when I spoke to them just a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, it was like their last round of, press for this wedding. I feel like they told me that there were people from, they said like her season that were friends with Jojo invited. Yeah. So maybe but they also said they kind of looked at each other like they weren't totally sure. So maybe like they hadn't checked their RSVP in a minute. Or maybe they just like didn't want to give names because they weren't sure. It was in like wine country. So maybe people with traveling and COVID, who knows? But yeah, I'm really happy that they're married. I'm sure they're going to have an amazing honeymoon in Greece. I can't. And then they'll be back promoting that new TBS show they have. So I'm sure we'll talk to them again soon.
It's very soon. But I mean, the real question is, was Aaron Rodgers there? We don't know, but I would love to find out.
My gut tells me no.
No, I know. Me too.
Everything I know, which isn't much, is that these two are still not overly friendly and it's, not recommended to bring it up in a conversation. Right. That would tell me that maybe he wasn't at the wedding, and you would think, people had the exclusive. They would probably, if he was there, like sneak it in if they knew, even if they couldn't get like a picture. So I would assume no. I also think maybe when they start posting more, like we'll see a picture of like Jordan and his groomsmen and his other brother will probably be in them. So maybe we'll get our answers there. But my best guess is no, but to know what really happened there is really fun.
Love it. All right. Well, what else is going on this week?
All right. Matt James had a quick appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and there wasn't that many like big revelations, but there was like a few subtle shady moments that I definitely think are worth talking about. He raised eyebrows on Watch What Happens Live when asked about Claire Crawley's rumored relationship with former contestant Blac. I don't even want to say his name. He was on the season for like 2 seconds. Take a look.
I think that, as someone who's struck out a couple times, I'm hoping that the best thing, I'm hoping happiness. I hope that something comes from that. It doesn't matter where she's getting it at this point. Hopefully someone will bring it.
We need to have him on our show.
I'm just saying.
That was a read, baby. That was a read.
I love Kenya's reaction.
Oh my God. I love it. And they were on Dancing with the Stars together. So they did a great
That's right.
rapport,
I forgot about that.
So it was great to have them on Watch What Happens Live together. They know what they're doing over there. But obviously Matt and Claire have had this weird dynamic ever since he was supposed to be on her season. Mm-hmm. She tweeted, giving him shade about Cameo. We talked about it last week because I asked him about it because it was in his book. And now he was asked about this rumored relationship with Blac from Claire's season, not Blake Moynes, the other Blac, who was on her for like 2 seconds, and Claire. They're both hairdressers. It was like earlier this year, they were like spending time together. We had heard that they're friends. Maybe something was happening, nothing crazy, but a Watch What Happens Live viewer called in and asked about it. And that was definitely, as Kenya Moore said, a read. Like he can't help but throw a little shade at Claire.
I kind of loved it. And then he also like kind of, gave some insight on Tyler and Rachel's relationship, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was a joke or not. But Andy Cohen is obsessed with Tyler Cameron, as we all are. And he brought up Tyler a few times. And at one point, one of the questions was like, what does Tyler Cameron think of Rachel? Your honey is what he kept calling her. And Rachel was in the audience and Matt started laughing immediately. And he was like, it's kind of like a love-hate thing. And then Rachel started laughing and Andy like kind of pushed, but like then they were just like laughing. So I thought that was weird because I've interviewed Tyler before and asked about Rachel and Matt, and he always says super nice things about it. So that was a kind of a weird little moment. I don't know what that was about.
It was. And I feel like, obviously they have separate lives. They're busy. I don't think Matt lives in New York anymore. I believe Tyler still does, but it doesn't seem like they hang out as much as they used to.
And Matt is also still pretty close with Hannah Brown as far as like up in her Instagram comments. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure Matt and Tyler are fine. Like guys are guys, but I definitely could see something there. I know Matt moved to Miami. Tyler, I think, is still splitting his time between Jupiter and New York. Right. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're just busy. But yeah, that was kind of a weird comment. Like you think on Watch What Happens Live, you just be like, it's great if you don't want to get into it. But maybe it was a joke. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, something else that was interesting is Scott Disick is not dating Corinne Olympios, despite being photographed at a party with her earlier this month. A source recently told us that nothing serious is going on between Corinne and Scott. They were hanging out with a group that night. Now, he was photographed hanging out with Corinne in Miami on May 7th at the F1 dinner at Poppy Steak. The pair were they were spotted leaving in the same car with her in the back seat while he sat up front. This wouldn't surprise me if they were dating.
I know, like I kind of would ship for Matt.
Right, I know.
It was definitely weird. And it was funny because everyone was like mystery blonde and everyone in Bachelor Nation was like, that's Corinne.
That's Corinne.
Corinne. But also I think, Scott's no stranger to Miami party scene. Corinne lives in Miami. Yep. Makes sense that they've crossed paths before.
Right. Yeah. We haven't heard from Corinne in a minute.
No, we haven't. And I think because, her Paradise thing ended so messy. Right. I think I've seen her do a few interviews saying like she would go back, but I don't know if the show would even want to go down that road. Yeah. But like speaking of Corinne, not to like compare her to Demi, but they definitely were like back-to-back blonde, villain types, but not even because like embraced, at least in their original seasons on the show. But Demi recently spoke to us at an event about if she would return to Paradise after her 2 stints. And she said, I cannot go to Paradise again. Also, I'm way out of their league. I have a podcast going on. So on my podcast, I feel like I can make my own show out of it a little bit.
Interesting. I mean, I think we spoke last year when she was on Bachelor in Paradise. I felt like her storyline felt so forced that she was just trying to make drama out of nothing. And like when she had the whole Mari and Kenny thing, when she took him to the boom boom room, it just felt like she was there just to stir up drama. And it just, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it.
I agree with that totally. I think that there's something to be said for like too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Like you have your moment. And anytime a three-peat or whatever never really goes well. Like if you think about anyone who just like comes back to the show, like even your second time, if you got good at it the first time, the second time is a risk. And if you get too good at it, it's like risking the third is wild. But then if you're like Dean Unglert, it's like good at it, bad at it, good at it. So like you kind of have to play the game. Like you're never going to get like all three unless you're like Becca Kufrin. So like, I don't know, like it's definitely a mix. And I think with Demi, it's just like, not that she even got bad at it, but it was just like, we didn't need that energy. And she kind of didn't have connections with the people who are on now. And I don't know, I think it's definitely a risk. And I don't think she needs to go back. And I honestly don't know if I need Corinne to go back either.
I don't think so either. Yeah. She went in there with the purpose of causing trouble, not going in there with the intention of starting a relationship, I felt. So it's like, why are you here? Like, we don't need it. We don't need it. It didn't make for good TV. At least in my opinion, but all right. Well, let's get into our Bachelor talk. And you recently caught up with Jessenia Cruz, who gave her side of the drama with Chris and Alana. So before we get into it, kind of give a recap of what happened, because this is like a messy situation.
It is a messy situation that I think we ended up in the middle of here to an accident. My bad, everyone. But basically, last season on Paradise, Chris and Alana showed back it up. Last season before Paradise, everyone was in San Diego for a pre-cast trip kind of thing. Katie Thurston put everyone together. It was like an unofficial Bachelor hangout weeks before they started filming Paradise. And on this trip, Chris and Alana have claimed that nothing happened. They were friends, didn't even really talk that much. Jessenia claims she has saw things that maybe were like, okay, there was some flirting going on. They all get to Paradise. Jessenia and Chris are there first. They form a connection. Jessenia, as you'll see, insists that she asked Chris if he was still interested in Alana based on what she saw in San Diego. He said no. Cue Alana finally coming on the beach, Alana and Chris getting together, Jessenia and the group getting all riled up, kicking Chris and Alana off the beach, accusing them of pre-planning their relationship. Months later, everybody's off contract and on the Us Weekly Here for the Right Reasons podcast. And we're talking about things like it's 2021 again, and here's Jessenia.
I love it. Breaking it all down, Sarah.
I mean, listen, the contracts are up. I know it's old news kind of, but we still got to get to the bottom of it.
We do. We have to get to the bottom of it. And you are doing God's work. I love it.
I can say for a fact, I remember everything that happened in San Diego. I was never once blackout drunk. It was never anything like that for me because I was around people that I didn't know. And I personally get anxious drinking heavily around people that I don't know.
Right.
So, and it's not to say that everybody else was trash either, but it's like there's certain things that happen that, people are speaking on, but they're not really divulging in the full details. Like I know for a fact that I saw Alana sitting in the jacuzzi with Chris on his lap and Brett was sitting right next to them. Brett, unfortunately, is not a reliable source for me though, because, but it was things like that was what was on my mind during Paradise, because I remember asking Chris after I gave him the rose, it was the very first full day together. We sat on the daybed and I asked him, obviously more women were coming and I wanted us to kind of be on the same page because he came in hot, right? Saying, right. I'm here for Jessenia, and he immediately took me on the date, things like that. So I was kind of riding on this high of like, wow, this guy is like really into me. I didn't think I made that big of an impression in San Diego, considering we were all just like in a group of people. So I asked him flat out, what can I expect if more ladies were to come next week? And I was also coming from the mindset of every time a relationship was established in Paradise, something happened, right?
Yeah. So
I was already kind of in my head. And I remember asking specifically after that, I said, or how about, what should I expect from you if Alana were to come? Okay. Because based off of certain body language that I had been seeing in San Diego, and I will preface this, that was her sitting in his lap in the jacuzzi was just the one time that I ever saw anything. Yes, they had like other casual conversations, but I knew that they had actually spent time together in Austin. I knew it was like for an event, I think for
Mike Johnson, I think, yeah.
For Mike, and I won't share details that were given to me about that weekend because they didn't come straight from their mouth. And that's the thing that I want to preface as well, is I'm not going to just spread rumors when I heard it from third parties, but I know what I saw in San Diego. And the fact that they won't share at least that detail, I'll let the audience kind of figure out why. But I do recall asking him specifically, what should I expect from you? Just to be clear, just for him to have the opportunity to give me that, fair answer and say, well, I mean, if any woman, Alana or not, were to come that I felt that I could have a stronger relationship with, I would hope you'd understand that I want to explore that. And I would understand, because I had done the exact same thing.
Right.
So it's like, I never.
But he didn't say that?
No, he didn't. He just said, no, like I came here for you, and I really just want to, spend some time with you here in paradise. Well, the way he said it too was more like, I want to spend time here in paradise. And then everything about me kind of came after that. I was like the second priority. And I want to preface that, I'm coming at this, as lightly as I can, because I've personally moved on from the whole situation, but I think it's been very difficult to look away when you have two people who are constantly kind of like continuing this narrative that just isn't true, and I'll speak for myself when I say this, but I did in fact apologize to Alana. And she, after
the show, was it when the show was airing, or
after the show? So I guess the show was still technically airing. It was after our episode, the whole craziness. I gave it a couple days, and I reached out to her and I said, I really, I wanted to give you some space, but I wanted to come to you and tell you that genuinely, I'm so sorry for how things ended up in paradise. And then when I think about what I would do differently, I wouldn't have cut you off, because I cut her off and I told her, honestly, I'm so embarrassed by that specifically, because you deserve to speak. And I think I was so clouded with like my emotions, which is hard to deal with when you feel hurt, when you feel lied to, that I just allowed that to control me versus like trying to be as centered as possible. And she acknowledged the apology. And then, the conversation went on, and I started to put the pieces together that we had very different recollections of San Diego. And it started to even become a concern, because I felt as though I was being made to feel as though I should question my reality. And that's when things really started becoming a problem for me, to the point where I even reached out to a member of production to help me navigate this. And they just told me, don't interact. And that's exactly what I did. So I had blocked them on social, through the numbers and everything, and just hadn't spoke to them up until I saw that interview. And that was only 2 weeks ago. And then I unblocked Alana, sent her the text, which delivered. So I think she blocked me after I texted her. I just left it at that. I never waited for a response from her either. Cause I
so you reached out again, you mean?
Yeah, I reached out again, and I had told her, I said, I did not want to argue with her first, because why? This happened almost a year ago. It's done. And I get, if you're hurt, that's fair, but don't drag my name all around the dirt along with it, So I told her, it's here plain as day. I forwarded her the screenshot of my apology. I don't understand why this is what you're choosing to do, but at least be honest about this. Just like all I asked was honesty from Chris's part, which he never gave me. So at least be honest about whether or not you received an apology, Yeah. So I don't know. It was difficult to navigate, but it is what it is. And I think it was already too long, or at least I didn't want to deal with people having this misperception of me any longer, because they went like on a podcast tour, I guess. And it was just like the same thing. And part of me is like, how many times can you repackage the same story?
Yeah.
But, every single time it was said totally incorrectly. So.
All right. Well, now let's check in to see what Bachelor Nation member caught our attention on social media. Mine goes to Dale Moss, showing some videos, hanging out with Tayshia yet again, but I don't think anything romantic is going on there.
Interesting, though. Also at an F1 party.
Right.
Like, Bachelor Nation respects the hell out of Formula One all of a sudden.
Yes.
Interesting. I do like that Netflix show that they have about like behind the scenes of Formula One. So that was interesting. I like low-key would ship Dale and Tayshia just for like Claire's reaction. God. So much so, like, and Matt James' reaction at that to Claire's reaction. Like, I love layers of shade and mess and reads, as Kenya Moore so eloquently put it. So I would ship for that reason alone, but we have heard that we're at the same party. They know each other. They're in Bachelor Nation. They live in New York, but I'm hoping something happens.
I'm hoping. I mean, I think we said the last time that they were spotted together, it would make for a beautiful looking couple. And,
that too. Do you guys ship? I want to know in the comments if anyone ships Dale and Tayshia or if we're just being messy.
I know. We're probably just being messy.
Probably.
But I love it.
Something a little more pure. Mine goes to Hannah Brown and her boyfriend, Adam. They moved in together. They have been together for like over a year, I think. And these pictures are just so cute. Like they are just like picture perfect and their house looks awesome. And Matt James commented, sheesh, okay, y'all snapped, fire emoji, fire emoji. So nice little love moment for them.
I'm super happy for her. I'm looking at the pictures now. Her like place looks like straight out of a magazine, like absolutely perfect.
I'm sure it's like Spawn, but you know what? It still made me happy.
Whatever gets you to look. If somebody would sponsor my house to look like that, if I turn this camera around, it's a hot mess. So
yeah. Same. So yeah, happy for them. And also just like, I can't wait to see, like, I feel like this is her guy. Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting, you know, if she gets married and all that fun stuff. So happy for her.
Definitely. Sarah, who's on the podcast this week?
You know, I'm catching up with Kendall Long, hopefully this afternoon. So my interview with Kendall should be out later today. I haven't talked to her since she was on Talk About a Third Repeat. Maybe
I was going to say, you are just getting all the Bachelor in Paradise scoops and breaking down all the drama. I absolutely love it.
I mean, we're still weeks away from the season. We gotta keep it going. So hopefully Kendall, she's a new boyfriend. Can't wait to hear all about that. And of course, you know, maybe sneak in a few questions about Joe and all that fun stuff. So definitely check it out.
Like I said, doing the Bachelor gods work. I love it. So good. All right. Well, everybody keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we will see you guys next week for what is sure to be another big week of Bachelor news. See you next time.
Bye.